Hi, Dr. Webb.
Um, this week's reading talked about score study and its importance in an orchestra. Um, the article talked about how score study can be neglected oftentimes by conductors. Um, I've had conductors where they, they don't know the patterns, um, and it makes rehearsal frustrating because you're expecting your students to walk in to rehearsal having their parts learned. So it's frustrating when you as a conductor don't have your part learned. So it's really important to not neglect score study so your rehearsal time can be as efficient as possible. So studying your score saves time. Um, so it will take up a lot of time in rehearsal if you don't know how a certain part is supposed to sound, um, or if you don't know how to conduct a certain pattern, or um, like express a certain articulation or feeling because you haven't like looked at the part yet or studied how the piece is supposed to go. um, it's also important to know your score so you can transfer knowledge from the score to your musicians. um, so an example of that would be maybe letting them know, like, the cellos also have like running 16th notes in this passage here, so listen to the cellos. And just having like that knowledge um, beforehand can be a helpful tool in rehearsal, um, to transfer like what um, to the musicians to make a better sounding orchestra. um, Analysis of a score cultivates efficient gestures. So, if there's like a spiccato part maybe in a spot, um, knowing that like a section of what they're playing is short and like off the string, you can convey that through your beat pattern. So, if you don't have your score studied and you're conducting like more legato instead of short and off the string, it might be confusing to your students, because they're reading um, they're reading one thing off of the music, but you're also physically telling them a different thing. Um, so, yeah, analysis of um, the score and how you want to transfer like your intention to your physical movements. Um, and this kind of also ties into another point that they talked about: nuance and interpretation can only happen through analysis. So, you know, it'll be hard to sight read a cadence. I mean, some people could probably, you could listen and be like, oh, there's a cadence here while you're conducting, but knowing that it's coming up, or knowing that there's a transitional spot in the music, um, can only really be successfully achieved if you prepare it beforehand, um, through score study. Um, the article also talked about a bunch of different things to consider while you're studying your score. The first one they talked about is rhythm. So this is important. If there's a difficult rhythm in the music and you don't know how to play it yourself as the conductor, and you're expecting your students to know how to do it, um, is problematic because you won't know if they're playing the rhythm right, and then that just causes you to lose rehearsal time, etc. Um, and rhythms could also impact your conducting pattern. So, like, if it's a 5/4 measure and you need to conduct a 2 and then a 3 instead of a 3 then a 2, just stuff like that is important to figure out beforehand so your students can follow you easier. Um, Another thing they talked about is tempo. So, if you don't have a tempo in mind before you come to rehearsal and you kind of just wing it, um, and you do that every rehearsal, your tempo won't be consistent and your students might get um, confused or frustrated because the tempo for like a faster section always changes. and it's not what they're practicing. So just keeping that constant is also an important part.